What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Coast to Coast Sports. I am by myself once again. Been a long time, been delayed, and I apologize for that. You know, life happens, shit was going on, but we're back. I like doing this shit, so I'm going to try and keep it more steady in the coming weeks and stuff. But I will say, happy NBA Eve to all those that celebrate. Obviously, postseason baseball is going on right now. NFL is going on, and we'll get more into that in the coming weeks. But I just wanted to say happy NBA Eve to everyone and everyone that celebrates. NBA obviously action starts tomorrow, Tuesday night. So I figured why not give my NBA predictions for the season, what I think, what I like, what I don't like, and I'm going to give you guys my top 10 teams of each conference. Basically, pretty much where I think the seeding is going to happen through the East and West conferences here. Obviously, huge news, big trades all around. The Lakers signed a bunch of people, re-signed a bunch of people. Heat got a little bit deeper, signed some Thomas Bryant, signing a few other guys, some two-way contracts. You know, preseason's basically been done. It's wrapped up. Bucks getting Damian Lillard, which is huge, especially because Miami was supposed to get him, but that's okay. My feelings are only slightly devastated. I almost cried myself to sleep. I only cried myself to sleep 2 times instead of what I predicted 3. But that's okay. Bucks get Dame. That pick and roll action / two-man game between Giannis and Dame is going to be absolutely electric. It's going to be super fun to watch this year. I'm going to root for their downfall actively, but it'll be still fun to watch. Celtics obviously losing their anchor and guard in Marcus Smart, trading him to Memphis, but they got 2 studs in Kristaps Porzingis and Drew Holiday basically to replace that Marcus Smart depth. And obviously, I think Drew Holiday's much more consistent and better player than Marcus Smart, especially on the offensive end, where Marcus Smart was definitely lacking. But either way, ton of exciting stuff to be happening in NBA this year. Pretty much those are the biggest names I would say that were on the move and that were going back and forth. Obviously, Portland got a ton of return for Damian Lillard. They're going to be an interesting, scrappy team this year. Ton of young guys, but they also have some veterans in DeAndre Ayton, Jeremy Grant, some other guys up there that I think are going to be a lot of fun to look out for and keep in mind. But the Suns as well, absolutely loaded from top to bottom and strict star power. They answered some of their questions in the bench depth and made sure that they filled in some of those spots. But they will be an interesting team to look out for, seeing how Kevin Durant and Bradley Beal are both on that team, and neither of them are the most healthy players in the NBA. They will be also a ton of fun. Might be probably the best backcourt in the NBA, especially with Devin Booker into that mix as well. They will be a lot of fun to look out for. And I'm expecting them to have a really high-powered offense, but not necessarily the defense. I think will be severely lacking. But that's just a prediction. Obviously, anything could change. Kevin Durant's a very underrated defender, and so is Devin Booker, obviously. So you lost a little bit of the rim protection, DeAndre Ayton, but you also got it back a little bit with Nurkic going there as well. So, we'll see. It'll be an interesting Western Conference, but I can truly think like the Western Conference might be 10 to 12 teams deep of just quality teams that could make the playoffs and be actually super, I don't want to say scary, but like it'll be like the 7 and 8 seed, I would say, that make the playoffs in the West on paper right now could still be very, very good comparative to like even the Eastern Conference, or even, being a 1 seed might not necessarily be the best case scenario when you play like an 8 seed, and it could be like Memphis, or it could be, even the Warriors, right? Any team like that, I can definitely see being the 4 through 12 seed all being decided by 2 or 3 games. So it'll be a really, really interesting season up and coming, but let's get right into it. I'll tell you my predictions of who I think is going to win the Final Four, MVP, some of those player accolade awards. But right now, I'm going to go to the Eastern Conference. Team that I think is going to have the best record in the East. Mentioned them before, the Milwaukee Bucks. They just got players, they got everyday players. And I think in the NBA, when you have everyday players who are going to show up, put their shoes on, lace them up, and get ready to go, those are the teams that are going to win the most games and be the most consistent, especially when it comes to playoff time. But Giannis plays almost every night, tries to play as many games as possible, and he was in the MVP voting and finished top 3 last year. He's going to be in the same boat that he was in this year. He's going to be probably top 3 in MVP, especially when you have a superstar talent like Damian Lillard to be at his wing. And now you're going to have a full healthy season probably of Chris Middleton dealing with some injuries last year. This will definitely be his redemption. I don't want to say like his redemption tour, but it'll definitely be a good, he had a good offseason. He's healthy again. and he'll be playing really high-level basketball. And obviously the rest of their team, the depth is a little bit gone. They did lose a few key players. Drew Holiday, obviously. Grayson Allen, you can hate him, you can love him, but dude was a solid role player. Knew his role, played it very, very well for them. He's no longer there too, so I think they lost some depth there, but they definitely picked it up in star power there. And they might just truly outscore their opponents, especially if Brook Lopez continues his resurgence in the NBA, being just basically a big 3 and D guy as well. He's probably going to finish top 5 in defensive player voting as well. So I'm going to put the Bucks number 1 in the Eastern Conference. Number 2, quickly followed by the Boston Celtics. You lose Robert Williams, who's your most athletic center, but you get Kristaps Porzingis, who's more experienced, definitely a better scorer all around. Probably lacks a little bit on the defensive end, but the issue there obviously is the injury proneness that he's had in the past couple years. And then you add Drew Holiday. You have average 20 points a game as the third option on the Bucks. I mean, he'll probably be the third option again on the Celtics. And if you get 20, he might be the third or fourth option on the Celtics. But if you're getting 15 to 20 a game out of him, I mean, the Celtics are just going to be loaded. But I'm still picking the Bucks just because I think they're better on the defensive front than they are on the Celtics. So I'm going to pick the Celtics to finish second in the East. Third, I'm going to go with the Cleveland Cavaliers. Super, super young team. They got their ass kicked in the playoffs last year to the Knicks, but they got more experience. They're better. They're more well-rounded. They answered some of their questions in size-wise, and also you just got to imagine Evan Mobley, Darius Garland are going to take another, Isaac Okoro are going to take another leap this year than what they did last year. I can see them taking another step forward. I'm putting them at my 3 seed. Very, very good defensive team. It's just going to be interesting to see where I think like the Cavs are going to like definitely run through the Detroit Pistons, the Charlotte Hornets of the world. But when they play the Bucks, when they play the Celtics, when they play the Heat, I don't know if their handful is going to be. They're going to definitely have their hands full, and it'll be an interesting see how well they do. They played really good against the Celtics last year. I think they were undefeated against them, if I remember that correctly. But the Cavs are going to be the 3 seed. I'm pretty confident in that. 4 seed, I'm going to put your boy Miami. We're definitely not known to be like a regular season like juggernaut of where we're trying to win a bunch of games, but we're the deepest, I believe. The Heat are the deepest they've been in quite some time. Tyler Hero looked really freaking good in preseason games. Jimmy's going to be Jimmy. Bam, I'm expecting him to take another leap in his offensive output this year, and I think him not getting Defensive Player of the Year again is really, really going to motivate him to really push that envelope this year, and I expect a breakout year from him defensively and offensively again. So I'm putting the Heat at the 4 spot there. Look out for their young guns, Nikola Jovic, Triple J, and Yamin Jaquez, as I like to say it. But the young stud out of UCLA, he's going to be awesome. And then obviously, look out for our key guys in Duncan, Kyle. It'd be nice to see Kyle Lowry actually have some value and output this year that he's had in years past. So I'm hoping that he won't have to necessarily carry the load the whole way, and where you can just find him and basically put him in the spots where he can be successful. And I know Eric Spoelstra, best coach in the NBA, if you ask me. I think you'll see him definitely be in the mix there for Coach of the Year again. And then I'm going to put him at the 5 seed. I'm going to put the New York Knicks. They're a solid team, top to bottom. Got a lot of height, got a lot of width. Got a superstar in Jalen Brunson. He's got more of his friends in DiVincenzo. DiVincenzo's a solid 10 to 15 point game scorer if he's hot. But he's going to get you come off the bench. He's going to get you points. He's going to get you production. Josh Hart's going to have his first full year with the Knicks this year. And I think they'll be right around that 5 spot. They'll still be a solid team. Not going to necessarily blow the doors off anyone. Might not be the most exciting team in the NBA, but they're going to be a solid team for you there. So I got them at my 5 seed. Going on to my 6 seed, I'm going to put the 76ers. I would have them a little higher if I knew where James Harden was going to be. Obviously, he's not going to play for the Sixers this year, but if I knew they would have been able to flip him for, Terrence Mann for the Clippers or something like that, I could give a better ranking of him. Just right now with the games starting tomorrow and the uncertainty that he has, putting them at the 6 seed might even be a little generous, but you still have Tyrese Maxey, you still have Joel Embiid, you still got the depth. I mean, they're still a very good team on paper. You got the reigning MVP for a reason. They're still going to be a solid team. I'm putting them at the 6th spot. 7th spot, I'm going to go with the Atlanta Hawks. I think that they're going to have a bounce back year with Trae Young. I mean, they were a very average team last year. Surprised a lot of people with how average they were. I think that they're still going to be a team that's going to make some noise and will be interesting. They'll be in that swing spot where they're either making it, to the playoffs, by like a game or two, they're going to be right around that 500 mark, like they were last year. And same thing with this next team. I think the Pacers are actually going to be my 8 seed. They got Obi Toppin. They traded for him. They got their superstar in Tyrese Halliburton. They got a great rim protector in Miles Turner. Buddy Hield, I think, is going to have another great year for them, shooting and just production-wise. I think they're going to be a sneaky, fun team to watch this year. Not going to necessarily win all the games, but I think they'll be in the playoff mix, especially when it comes to like the playing game. I think they'll be right there, and I think the Pacers are going to be my 8 seed. And then in the 9 seed, I'm going to go with the Bulls. Obviously, not having Lonzo again this year is going to be really huge for them. It's going to be an issue that you're going to be definitely keeping an eye on, and I think that they will actually blow it up halfway through the season. Basically, trade a bunch of people because the Bulls are going to be in that weird spot. Because I have them with like Orlando. Orlando's super freaking young, so I'm kind of curious to see how they'll work out. I had Orlando in my 10 spot. That would be my final play-in team. I wanted to put Orlando up there with like the Hawks, but just knowing how inconsistent they were last year, they've got 2 superstar players in Paulo Banchero and Franz Wagner. I just don't know how well the rest of the team necessarily fits, meshes, or gels. It'll be an interesting year to watch for them, but look for like the Bulls and the Pacers and the Magic all to be in that like 8, 9, 10 spot. Basically interchange with each other. I bet those 3 are going to be separated by like a half a game or a game and a half from literally the 8 to the 10 spot. So that's where I have my top 10 in the East currently. That's the way I have it set up, and that's the way I think it's going to go for them. Bouncing it over the Western Conference. The Western Conference I had a hell of a time figuring out. Obviously, the Oklahoma City Thunder, to me, is going to be the most exciting team in the Western Conference. Dallas Mavericks, Kyrie Irving's going to have a full season under Jason Kidd and Luka Doncic. They've had all off-season. They've had all preseason together. They're only going to figure it out, in my opinion. They're only going to get better. Then you look at the New Orleans Pelicans, who were just missing the playoffs or just made the playing game. If Zion stays healthy, that team is going to be a lot of fun to look out for and a lot of fun to watch. They're going to be a super exciting team. I just don't know if they're going to be able to put it all together again. It's so much of this is health issues. But I'm looking for the number 1 seed. I'm going to go back to the Denver Nuggets. Defending champs. They're a very good regular season team. They got depth. They've got guys that are role players that can show up and ball out. Jamal Murray is a superstar. Nikola Jokic is a superstar. And you're just going to see a lot of production out of them. Look for Michael Porter Jr. to take another leap this year. More on the defensive side than on the offensive side. We obviously know he's a guy that loves to shoot the ball at a high volume. And he's a very good 3 and D with his length. He just really needs to commit to that defensive side. And I think you're going to get that out of him this year. The 2 seed, I actually have the Los Angeles Lakers. Once again, goes back to that being healthy, right? They made some great noise in the playoffs last year after basically overturning their entire roster at the trade deadline. And shout out to Rob Pelinka for doing that, and it worked out for him really well. This year, it's a full team. Everyone's signed. Everyone has a full year of off-season together, training, scheme, everything like that. So look for them to be the 2 seed, assuming Anthony Davis stays healthy, assuming LeBron stays healthy. All these arguments are going to be made with everyone staying healthy, right? That's going to be the key point of everything. I think I put them at the 2 seed there. They're going to be a ton of talent on that team, and they're going to be a fun team to watch this year, and they're going to be super good. I'm very, very high on the Los Angeles Lakers this year. The 3 seed, I'm actually going with the Sacramento Kings. They just have such regular season potential. You could argue that they could be in the 2 or even the 1 spot. They have so much young talent where they're going to play a lot of games together, and they're going to play Sabonis is probably going to play 70-plus games. Fox is going to play 70-plus games. Herter and Keegan Murray, all those guys are going to play 70-plus games. Those guys are young enough. They have the legs under them. It's not like you're LeBron when you're 38 years old and you're trying to make it through the end of the season. These guys are really good, really talented team. They were fun. Learned a lot last year from themselves in the regular season and in the playoffs. I think they'll be a fun team to look out for. Number 4 seed, I'm actually going to go with the Phoenix Suns. Obviously, that backcourt's going to be unreal. I think the defense is where it's going to lack, and that depth is going to show as the season drags on. But I put them at the 4 seed. I think it's a very solid spot for them. They could obviously be in that 3 seed, 5 seed discussion. I think I'm just going to have them hanging out there at 4 seed. I'll slip them back and forth with that depth and that issues that they were having there. And then the 5 seed, which, once again, it's one of those things where I wish I knew what was going on with the 76ers situation. Because the Clippers, I have being at that 5 seed. if Kawhi and Paul George can stay healthy, they're a hell of a duo. They are super fun to watch. Great offensive output and great defensive output. Russell Westbrook seems to find himself a much better situation than he was with the Lakers. Their depth is there. They've got a lot of good players from top to bottom that are good role players, good sizable players. And, you added some pieces late there at the trade deadline. Again, Ty Lue, very, very good coach. He's a top, probably 5 coach in the NBA. He will be having a full scheme of everyone being healthy. We're not worried about Kawhi, and you're not worried about Paul George necessarily being on the injured list and having all those issues that they were having. So I think they would be a good sneaky team to sit there right at that 5 spot as well. And then I got the 6 seed. I got the Golden State Warriors. Steph Curry's still Steph Curry. Klay Thompson's aging out a bit. His value's not seen that this past year. Draymond also same kind of thing. They paid him. I think they owe it to Steph, and I think it over. And he's obviously a great emotional leader, great team captain. You got to see a bigger jump from Jonathan Kuminga. They need Kevin Looney. Those guys need to take a leap offensively. They're great defensively, great defensive rebounder. But you're definitely going to need to see them to take a huge jump to help that team really propel that team. I got the 7 seed. It's going to be the Memphis Grizzlies. They got first 25 games. 7 seed is going to be the Dallas Mavericks. I think they're going to be in that mix again, right up in that area of just they're figuring it out. They've got a full offseason together. Luka Doncic, I think, is going to be in MVP discussions. Jason Kidd's a very good coach. He can get you win your games, but I think just the chemistry and the depth of the teams above them is what's really going to hold Dallas back. And same thing with OKC, because I really wanted to put OKC in that 5 and 6 spot, but this will be Chet's first full year in the NBA action. Josh Giddey's a great player. Shai's a very good player. Lou Dort, very good player. But they're so young. So it's kind of hard for me to put them up in that discussion as well of being in that, 6 to 1 spot in that range. I got them in that playing tournament of that 7, 8, 9, 10 area. And the same thing with the Pelicans and the Timberwolves. That's who I got my 7, 8, 9, 10 area. I think all those guys are going to make the playing game. One of them is going to get cut because I have the Mavericks at 7 right now. But 8, 9, and 10, and 11 is going to be Minnesota, OKC, and the Pelicans. I think they're all going to be in that area. I don't have a ton of stock in San Antonio. Yes, they've got Wembanyama. Yes, he looks very, very good on paper, but he's still a rookie. He's still built like cardboard. He's got the talent on paper. He looks freaking awesome in preseason. Can he do it for 82 games? That's the biggest question for him, and I just don't know that. No one else does. They can say they do, but they don't. So I think he'll be fun. They'll be a fun team to watch this year, but I wouldn't put them as a for surefire playoff team. But I think that the Dallas Mavericks could be in that 7 spot. 8 spot, I got OKC. 9 spot, I got the Pelicans. 10 spot, I got the Minnesota Timberwolves. So that's kind of basically where I have everyone shaken out right there. Memphis Grizzlies, I think, are going to fall majorly down into that 7, 8 spot. Ja's going to be suspended the first 25 games. They don't have Steven Adams for the entire year. That got released yesterday. So I think when you're losing your biggest offensive rebounder in the NBA, quite literally, you're losing the depth of another big guy. I think that's going to leave a lot of Jaren Jackson Jr.'s shoulders, especially Defensive Player of the Year. I think that they'll be an interesting team to look out for until Ja comes back. And I think they might be in a hold until that happens. So I think if they can stay a couple games above 500, around that 500 mark, I think they'll be in good position. But I have them in that 7 spot. And then 8 is going to be, I have the OKC 9 Pelicans, 10 Dallas area is all going to be those guys. All fighting. I think those games are going to be separated by literally tiebreakers, and game and a half or half a game is going to be all in that area. So I got those guys all basically in a coin flip. You ask me tomorrow, I could change my mind. But that's pretty much where I have the Western and Eastern Conference standings right now. And then my personal predictions, as I mentioned before, I think the best record in the NBA, I'm going to go with the Milwaukee Bucks. I think they're going to have the best record, better than everyone else. I think they're going to be around that 53 and 29, 52 and 30 area range. I think they're going to be there. I think MVP is going to be Giannis. Damian's going to show a lot of value in Giannis, and he's going to be able to take him to that next level. He's been balling years and years without a superstar caliber player like Damian Lillard. Now that he's got him, I think it'll really show what Dame, because you're gonna have to guard someone straight up, and you can't just guard Damian Lillard straight up and Giannis straight up and Chris Middleton. So someone's going to be left open to produce, and it's going to be Giannis. To me, I think he's going to be the MVP. That's why they're also going to be the best record. I got most improved is going to be Tyrese Maxey. I think since James Harden's on his way out, it's definitely going to lead to a leap for Tyrese Maxey. I mean, this is going to be his year to where he's going to start most games. He's going to play. I think he's going to average 20-plus points a game. He's wicked sweet on defense. He's going to be maybe taking a leap of 25 points a game. He's going to win that most improved player. Sixth man of the year, I think is going to be Derek White for the Celtics. I think it's going to be really dependent on if he comes off the bench. This is me. Assuming he's coming off the bench, I'm assuming Drew's going to start. Derek's going to come off the bench. Great 3-and-D guy. Most blocks by a guard in all of the NBA last year, and he showcased his value in the playoffs this past year. I think he's going to be sixth man of the year for the Celtics. Defensive player of the year, I'm going to go Bam Adebayo. I think he's actually going to get it this year. I think the media is not going to be able to shun him away too much longer than what they've done already. I look out for him. He's guards 1 through 5, and he does it phenomenally. And I think that you'll see him take another step. And he's going to take it personally this year. So I think he's going to take another step and become that defensive player of the year. Rookie of the year, I'm going to go Chet. I think OKC is going to have a higher winning percentage in San Antonio. And because he's had a full year of weightlifting, training, shooting with NBA coaches and talent, I think he's going to be much more able to adapt and play much more fluidly than Wembanyama's going to be able to play. And I think they're going to be safe with Wembanyama. I think they're going to take it easy with him. Not load manage him necessarily, but if he's fatigued or if he has things that are nagging him, they're not going to rush him out there and make him play all these games, every single day, because I think they understand that he's going to be their franchise player for the next 10 to 15 years. They want to keep him happy. They want to make sure that he's healthy, and I think that'll be the biggest step for them. So look out for Chet for Rookie of the Year. And then I got a bold prediction. I think that LeBron's going to finish top 3. I almost put LeBron at MVP. What he was doing last year before he sprained his ankle, 30 points a game, basically was the only valuable player on the Lakers producing. I think you're going to see that again for him, and I think that he will finish top 3. I could see him being MVP. He needs to be in that 1 to 2 seed range of wins, because for some reason that equates value. Is when your team wins the most, then that means you can be most valuable. Russell Westbrook won MVP as a 6th seed because he averaged a triple-double. Literally did it the next year, averaged a triple-double, and wasn't even close to MVP. So it's just one of those media awards where I don't think there's any right answer. But Eastern Conference matchup, I think, is going to be Heat versus the Bucks. I think that's what's going to happen. 2 veteran teams that have played each other before. And I think it's going to kind of duke out into that area, especially with the Bucks being a 1 seed. And the Heat being in that 3 to 4 seed discussion. I could see them playing each other in the Eastern Conference Finals. Lakers, Nuggets in the Western Conference Final repeat of last year. 1-2 seed. They're going to go duke it out again. And I think it'll be a much more competitive series because, like I said, Lakers have all that talent. They're much deeper depth-wise. They got a couple role players that I think are very valuable, have experience in the playoffs. And then you also have that type of caliber of a full off season, a full time playing with each other. Anthony Davis is going to be healthy. LeBron's going to be healthy again. I look to them to duke it out in a rematch of last year's Western Conference. And then I got the finals being Heat versus Lakers, round 2. The bubble rematch, I got the Heat and the Lakers again. Don't want to do the championships, predictions or anything. But assuming everyone stays healthy and this season goes according to plan, look out for those teams to be meet in the final. Erik Spoelstra going against the greatest of all time, LeBron. It'll be a super fun season. I'm looking forward to it. Hopefully all my predictions hit. That'd be all right. Make you a lot of money. But that's basically where I got the Western Conference and the Eastern Conference duking it out and where it's going to land for these games. And that's pretty much all I got for you guys today. Just happy NBA Eve to all those that celebrate, including myself. Hopefully your team all prosper unless they play the Heat. I'm going to be rooting for your downfall. But we'll circle back here in about halfway through the season, see how well my predictions are doing, especially when it comes to conference standings. But right now, that's where I got it. That's my East, that's my West preview. And then I gave you my awards and pretty much everything else that you need to know. Those are my predictions for the year. So thanks so much for hanging out with me, guys. I really appreciate it. Hopefully I can be more consistent with these again. I love doing them. I just got to commit to it, and I'm going to be making a more better effort at that. So appreciate you guys hanging out with me. We'll catch you next time. Peace.